welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Pisces. Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of February 2025. Happy incoming birthday season for you. I hope you're well. I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot for you today, which is really quite interesting. Things to tell you. If the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there is an extended that you can access at the end. That is via the first link in the description box below, or it might be the second link, actually. It's to the Selfie store. We're moving away from Vimeo because of their, abhorrent and invasive practices. So we're test driving Selfie for a month or two to see how it goes. The overwhelming majority of people seem to have had a positive experience with it. If yours has not been, or even if it has, actually, I would really appreciate it if you would reach out and let me know, because obviously whatever we use moving forwards, it's got to work for you as much as it's got to work for me. So, like I said, on balance, definitely an improvement from Vimeo, but, jury's out and we'll see how it goes. What else have I got to tell you? Oh, the link for Circle is down there in the description box as well, so if you're interested in that, knock yourself out. Other than that, I think we should get straight on with this, Pisces. So let's flip around. I have 3 cards for Pisces, please. Well, here's the first one. We have the Two of Swords. Very interesting imagery, and I'll tell you why in a second. Actually, just want to hold that up so you can see it. There is a moon in the background there. Current energy for Pisces, please. Right, we've got the Page of Swords and the Four of Cups. And then what's coming towards Pisces, please, for February? It's not enough that the cards flip, they've got to jump out. We've got the Six of Swords. Do you know what's really fucking interesting about this? I was going to tell you about this later on in the reading, but it's relevant now, so let's talk about it now. Before I do any reading at all, I do a short meditation just to connect with the energies of whoever I'm reading for, right? Whether it's collective or individual, it doesn't really matter. And I don't often get any kind of imagery associated with that at all. It's more about a feeling, right? But this time I did, and it was a dark night, but it was on the sea, and the sea was very calm. It was just lapping peacefully. There was an enormous moon, enormous moon, very low in the sky, almost touching the water. And there was just this, just watery noises, but they're very, very gentle. And then I realised I was in a boat. And it was a boat that was not much bigger than this. And that I was looking out over this scene, over the moon and over the water and whatnot. And I thought, how strange. A Pisces' natural environment would be in the water, not on a boat on the top of the water. And I thought, oh, no doubt it'll come in, at some point later on in the reading. But I mean, it's literally here. We've got the sea imagery on both. And this whole bridge thing is really, really interesting as well, because that's where the meditation was going in terms of what it was projecting outwards rather than what was being shown. But I'll get into that in a second. So to be presented with the imagery right here in front of me like this is fascinating. So let's get the triple goddess out and let's get some clarifiers down underneath. You will notice that there is no major arcana down there. This is not a cause for concern. It simply means that whatever's going on this month is very much within your capacity to influence, right? If you consider the major arcana to be the big universal forces that are working on us at any given time, and the minor arcana being our responses to that, and that being the thing that we actually control, it says there's a lot about what you do this month that is important, less so about things outside of your control, just kind of, constantly prodding at you. So tell me about this Two of Swords, please. Thank you. First card out is the Six of Wands. We have the Tower and we have the Wheel of Fortune. Interesting. Okay. Tell me about the Page of Swords. Oh, goodness. Let's get these out properly. fucking hell. Right, we've got the Fool on its side. This is very interesting because, not Pisces, you're Pisces. Aries received exactly the same. Oh, look at that. And we also have the High Priestess on her side as well. That's beautiful. Right, and what about the Six of Swords, please? Right, Ten of Cups on its side. And in the upright, we have the Hermit. Okay, Ten of Swords at the bottom of the deck here. Now, straight from the off, it seems like there's a somewhat bittersweet energy about this month here for you. Again, as with other signs, this sense that soon but not yet really starting to come to bear. Now, I do wonder if for you, Pisces, it's been a little bit more intense than perhaps for other signs, because you've had the North Node move into your sign. Now, last month, I spent a considerable amount of time bleating on about how it was the 29th of January. And in fact, what I did, I fucked up. And I was looking at the mean node, not the true node. The true node ingress date was actually the 11th of January. So whilst everything still applied, it was all happening much faster. And I think that the influence of the North Node ingress has probably heightened your experience, for you specifically, Pisces, compared to other people. You know, we also have Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, and all of these are getting ready to shift signs over the next couple of months, which is it's going to be really, really rather interesting. But I think that, yeah, I think it's entirely possible that it's been much more intense for you than it has been for other people. And I mean, to be fair, it's been pretty intense for everybody all around it, right? But here's where I think Pisces excels above most of the other signs. And it's in the willingness to accept and not try and write stories about what comes next. It may well be that part of the influence of the North Node on the rest of the signs is kind of encouraging much more of that sort of approach to things. For example, you know, the fire signs very much like to be in control of things, and they like to be doing things. Earth signs particularly like to know what the next step is, where they're going next, right? They don't really like to just accept and submit to everything. And even to an extent, I mean, could we really say that Cancer and Scorpio are willing to just submit to everything? Not really. You know, these armoured creatures such as Scorpio and Cancer are, don't necessarily I've forgotten the word. I was going to use the word relate, but it's not what I was after. We don't get that sense from them, right? But you, Pisces, you do. And so we start off here with this Two of Swords. But what's really strange about this card is that I'm trying to focus on the swords, but I can't really do it. It's just like they're not really that important in the grand scheme of whatever is going on in this card, right? So we've got that very still water, but we've got a huge expanse of water. Like so it's the sea. We can see that, but it is still. It's completely still. And I feel like, whereas for most other signs, the swords are a constant invasion into one's ability to be able to accept a situation one way or another, it isn't that way for you, ever. And the swords quite often feel like an interruption, a violation of an accepting space. We've got the moon at the top there representing intuition. We've got the water representing emotions. And you do feel very calm to me, Pisces. Even though entropy is increasing, even though chaos is increasing, there's sorry, I'm just trying to feel my way around the edges of what this actually is. It's like there's no it's like everything's calm on the surface. That's what I'm trying to say here. I saw a video this morning. It was really, really interesting. And it was of a river that had completely frozen over. And the girl was talking about it, and she was like, look, it looks so still. It looks like nothing's happening at all. But then she moved like 20 feet to her right, and it came down a waterfall. And what happened was the very top layer had frozen, and all the water was still moving underneath. Even though you couldn't see it through the ice, it was still very much moving. And that's what I'm put in mind of when I see this Two of Swords here for you. It's like on the surface, it looks like things are just being what they are, right? It's very, very quiet. But there's a lot happening underneath the surface. And this is my Pisces chuntering along in the background. Stay there, I'll just ask her to be quiet. Sorry about that, I'm back. She was recounting a dream she'd had. Pisces, right? Anywho. So much is going on beneath the surface, and it's not really perceptible by other people now. And if you try and think about it too hard, it's almost like it doesn't really make any sense, because it is a situation that must be felt and not necessarily spoken about or thought about, or any of these things. Excuse me. But something is amassing with you, Pisces, and I think that we talked about it quite a bit last month. I can't honestly remember though, because I did have a sense that things were going to change quite dramatically once the North Node hit your sign. We've got a different quality of energy, a different kind of force at play on us, much more, much less warlike, much less martial than we've seen with Aries, and something much more fluid that we see with Pisces, right? And whether it relates to spirituality or whatever, right? Those influences being really very strong at this point. It feels more like potentially the calm before the storm. And remember that we are talking about your recent past here. Or a steady connection. I think this is more like a steady connection to some sort of integrated whole that Pisces knows intuitively that it's a part of, where the power is beginning to amass, something that's moving up underneath the surface. Now, at this point, I'm going to jump in. Sorry, Pisces, but I feel like you're probably going to be sound with me doing this. This meditation that I spoke of, where I was literally stood in the boat and just looking out over this scene with the giant moon and whatnot, I was like, why? Why am I in the boat? Because if we're connecting to Pisces, fish in boats generally don't do very well, right? We want the expanse of the ocean. And this is what was quite interesting, because what was shown to me, not visually, but through other means, was that here is where the bridge building starts. And here's the bridge, right? Okay. And the bridge building is between that space that you occupy so naturally, Pisces, that being of the emotional realm that is, insubstantial, which is to say not having substance, but nevertheless realer than most things, and where it is that everybody else lives. That how do we cross that divide? Well, the ocean itself is kind of terrifying for people who are not familiar with the act of swimming around in the ocean, right? Perhaps are not blessed with the ability to, with the skill set needed to swim in the ocean. And how are we going to get them across, right? Well, we're going to have to either ferry them across, or we're going to have to build some sort of bridge. In either way, it kind of works as a metaphor as to what is going on with you right now. What you perceive versus what everybody else perceives, and the point at which those are going to start to join up. Maybe it's going to take 18 months for this to happen, and you're certainly not going to catch everyone, but the sense that it's all starting to come together, and you're the person who is engaged in the active construction of this bridge, this active construction of the boat, right? Now, it felt a little bit more to me like, rather than building a bridge from one side to the other, that the purpose of the boat was to situate yourself in the middle. And I don't know, build the bridge from the middle out. I mean, that's not how bridges are made, but it had that sense of kind of meeting in the middle and being like, well, this is the spot. This represents the point where most people can kind of get to, or at least express some sort of willingness to get to, and I can take them the rest of the way here. Now we've got the Six of Wands, the Tower, and the Wheel of Fortune, and these are, you know, the Tower is here, but it isn't always a negative card. It's anything that's got that dimension of surprise to it, right? Where one's life takes a 90-degree turn and goes in an entirely different direction to the way that we thought it would. Now, sometimes it can be a very challenging energy, and this is usually what scares people about it. Because we're facing the unknown when this comes up. It's like, whoa, 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 we were going this direction. What do you mean we're going off this way? This is not cool. And it is universally a good thing, but when experienced in the moment, generally it feels anything but. So things like job losses and stuff like that, very much under the purview of the Tower. But to see it here flanked with the Wheel of Fortune and the Six of Wands feels to me like most Pisces are starting to feel like, whether they're in a state of comfort about where we are at the moment as a species, or whatever's coming in, it's kind of like, no, I recognise this, I'm kind of at home here, this is all right. Or whether it is, as I alluded to right at the beginning of the reading, I didn't allude to it, I said it overtly, right? The fact that it is your exceptional ability to be able to accept all things as they come in, which is helping you ride this storm out a little bit, or even be, you know, right at the forefront of what this storm might mean in terms of human consciousness. The Wheel of Fortune is an alignment, I think, or an orientation, let's put it that way, an orientation of us towards our destiny. And you are probably one of the few signs who can pick up on the changing nature of the energetic vibrations that are emanating from people and are around people. So you know change is on its way in, and you're built for change, right? You oversee that transition from winter to spring. You are also the end of the zodiac, right? So from here it's about rebirth and renewal and whatnot, but we have to go through that Piscean experience first before we arrive there. Now, to have the Tower flanked here by two, frankly, very, very positive cards means to me that either what we've got is some sort of reflection within your particular microcosm of macrocosmic changes that are going on. So it could be that actually you've decided to leave that job that you fucking hate, and you've taken up some sort of endeavour that is much more in alignment with who you are. Perhaps instead of being overwhelmed by the energies, what you're doing instead is just allowing things to play out the way that they will. The thing is, when the Tower's here, it does indicate that something has changed recently. And we could talk about for hours, literally hours, how that could be affecting each of you individually. But the fact is, there's this winning here, Jupiter as well. That's right, your ruling planet in ancient astrology. Jupiter in Leo over here, Jupiter over here with the Wheel of Fortune, and then the Tower. I'm giggling because I just realised that Jupiter actually goes direct this month, right? So absolutely adding to the feeling of beneficence and expanding in an idealistic way. All manner of things, situations, what we're capable of, all that kind of thing. But the Tower, I think, is more about other people's responses to it. I think it's seen some sort of change for you, Pisces, but I think it's that it's difficult to be knocked by reality doing something strange when you never really paid that much attention to what consensus reality was, right? Other than the fact that you didn't really like it very much. However, people who are deeply rooted in that are going to find that really destabilizing. Stands to reason, right? So whatever changes have happened for you, I think they've happened quite holistically, and I think you've flowed with it and you've accepted it and it's all been good. But I think this is what you see coming. And this is this kind of embracing energy around it. Well, I don't know if I'm making any sense to you, Pisces. I feel like I'm kind of drifting around on the ocean as I'm talking to you. But you're here. And this energy that I've been talking about, feeling like it's building, right? There's so much happening beneath the surface, and you yourself being completely calm about it because you're accepting all these things that are coming in and being like, this is fine, this is how it's supposed to go, this is all good. How to put it? There will be a crescendo point with this, but I'm just not quite sure where we hit the peak of it, right? So, which is to say, we've got the High Priestess down here, and she's showing up sideways. Now, whenever cards show up sideways for me, I have a couple of different ways of reading these, but quite consistently over the last few months, what I've seen with the sideways cards is these are energies that are here but are not yet fully activated. So in this case, we have both the Fool and the High Priestess showing up, present but not fully activated. Now, in the case of Aries, as I mentioned before, they also had this card. It's like, now's not the time to be kind of trying to springboard forwards. Mars is in retrograde, it's in the sign of Cancer. Both of those are states that it finds deeply unpleasant. But Mars does station direct towards the end of this month. I think it's like 24th of this month. Now, albeit, he's going to have to retrace his steps forwards through the sign of Cancer, and that's going to take a little while. So he's still in a kind of debilitated state that he does not enjoy being in, but at least he's moving forwards. He's not moving backwards anymore, which is incredibly vexatious to Mars, right? So it's not the time for taking great leaps into the void. It is the time to start processing the possibility of an incoming leap into the void, though, an incoming new start, an incoming kind of wiping clean of things. Like I said, Pisces, you govern the transition from dark to light. You know, as we move through Pisces season, we're getting ready to engage with Aries season here. And we could say, potentially, that there's something quite important that happens between Aries season, Pisces season and Aries season. But what I feel like it is more, with specific reference to you, Pisces, is that some big aspect of who you are isn't quite ready to be shown yet. It is working away in the background. Now, we talked a lot about teacher, leader, guide as concepts for Pisces, and why they've been, you know, for the last few years, really getting ready for whatever is coming next. And I think before too long, we'll see that for what it is. But the full extent of the spiritual information that will be available to you isn't yet here. Now, sometimes when we see the Tower and the spiritual and the High Priestess together, we're talking about spiritual awakenings, right? Probably you could extend that to the Wheel of Fortune as well. It's not like you need to have some sort of big spiritual awakening, Pisces. It's not what it is. But there is an increase in information that is coming your way that leads to, and perhaps, I don't know whether I'm overstating it here, but it puts you into the position whereby you can oversee other people's coming to awareness in a way that you naturally hold, right? I don't think I'm overstating it. I kind of tested it around there, and it kind of feels right. Which is to say, almost, that your job is to kind of witness it happening rather than trying to influence it or trying to outwardly express in any kind of way or another at this point. I would not be surprised to see these two cards showing up for you in the upright in March. Just say that there, right? So we've got the Page of Swords, who ultimately is about information gathering and the expansion of consciousness that flows therefrom. When we start to, accumulate more information about a situation or, some sort of spiritual aspect of things. And we've got the Four of Cups. Now, this Page of Swords seems actually like he's headed towards these, to start smashing things up with his swords. It's like whatever information he is receiving, it's expanding his mind and his awareness and his consciousness to the extent that he recognizes that what is happening in the Four of Cups is not helpful. Maybe stories that he has written for himself that are of a Four of Cups flavour are no good for him. Now, I don't think this is you, Pisces. This is why I've been kind of pulling faces at this, because I'm trying to gently prise this apart. And it is a little bit all over the place. The Page of Swords seems to be that which you are witnessing in others. Now, shadow work is possibly a thing. Not yours, but other people's. Where the Four of Cups can be, anything from boredom and apathy right through to abandonment issues. And generally speaking, I see it more as the latter than the former. I think the narratives that we've written for ourselves around, why we are unlovable and why we are abandoned and why we should consider to, we should continue to be that way thereafter, hereafter. Kind of being held up to the light and seen as what they are. Because if there's one thing that seems to be playing out through the cards here, it is the energy of transition, but managed transition. Now, to some end or another, it's almost like you don't need to do anything. Certainly, there's no indication here that you have to be doing some sort of rapid levelling up in the way that we're seeing with some of the other signs. More like it's witnessing what's happening with everyone else. So because Pisces rules things like spirituality and, medicine, although also poison, right? Medicine and spirituality and religion and these very internal states of faith and being. What I think you've been doing is witnessing people starting to knock down their own Four of Cups state. Most people would be horrified, I think, if they could hear the contents of other people's heads. Not because of, probably they've got all sorts of questionable shit going on in there, but specifically with the way that they see themselves. There's a distinct lack of acceptance that works in people's consciousnesses. They don't know how to accept themselves. They don't know how to accept their experiences. They don't know how to accept their gifts. And it's much easier to put these things to the side for other people than it is to work on the act of acceptance. With the Four of Cups, we're often talking about the act of rejection as well as rejecting. And Pisces doesn't generally do that. Pisces does not reject. Pisces accepts. Pisces does not interfere. Pisces witnesses. What has been difficult for Pisces over decades in terms of trying to engage with a world that is dominated by swords, whether it's through technology or probably more importantly, like the dominance of the conscious mind in trying to process things, is now somewhat of a gift, as those things that were born of more sword-like energies begin to reveal themselves as problematic. So the Page of Swords here and the Four of Cups is not you, but something that you are witnessing. You're witnessing people starting to expand their mind to the possibility that there are more things out there than the narratives that they have written for themselves over time. The reason why these two are sideways is because the extent to which you are actively involved, if I can use that word kind of with some parentheses around it, is not yet here. But it's coming closer. Teacher, leader, guide. You know, the ways that you can step up to help people heal their subconscious, right? Because you are the healer, and we're definitely moving into that healing modality between you and Virgo, right? And you share an axis. The Virgo is more about the triage, right? It's about the active tending to, you know, visible wounds with bandages and all, you know, cleaning wipes and all that sort of thing. Pisces is a much more internal, much more spiritual, much more faith-driven kind of healing. It's healing of the soul and healing of the spirit. Now, you don't have to involve yourself with this first step that every other person is taking at the moment. It feels like your big springboard is on its way in, and possibly something that's going to garner you a lot more attention than you currently get. But it's important for you to look around and see how the energies of the moment are interfering with the emotional processes and the thought processes of the people that you can literally see. Maybe you can feel it on a bigger level. That's entirely possible for Pisces too, because all of these are creating the natural preconditions that are essential for Pisces to be able to step up soon. And it is coming soon. Because as the energy of the North Node really starts to ramp up, and to be fair, generally speaking, its ingress, the first couple of months of its ingress are where the biggest kind of like are. And then we've got a peak in the middle, and we've got a peak towards the end as well. As this energy really starts to take a hold of people, it's going to be difficult for them to know where to take it. It's almost like humanity doesn't really have the benefit of being able to feel their way around this for the next decade. They need guiding in it. Yeah. 8 of Swords, 9 of Pentacles. How do they find a way of breaking through their own stuck states, particularly mentally? Like their own resistance to those more powerful forces than their conscious mind, and that's going to be like the intuition, the emotion, the things that reside in the. I did a class on the shadow on Friday, and we talked about things in terms of both Jungian psychology, but also in terms of modern neuroscience. So like kind of seeing where the works of Daniel Kahneman and Jung kind of were going in the same direction, right? And so subconscious is system 1 to Daniel Kahneman, and the conscious mind is system 2. Like everything that it is to be a Pisces belongs to, I think, largely the subconscious or the system 1, and that is the part of us that never sleeps. It's the part of us that's connected to the universe. It's the part of us which in this card we are shown is being effectively blocked. That's not your doing, Pisces, and that isn't you. This is what you are witnessing in other people. What we've got is the beginnings of a very slow awakening that is going to return people's energies to them, right? The 9 of Pentacles represents the energetic currency and our management thereof. And so it's not just money, it's about everything. It's about where you touch the universe, where the universe touches you, and how you notice it. Now, you do. You were born with that built in. Other people do not, particularly when they are obsessed with things on a material level and things on a mental level, right? Processing everything up here. Like I said, I think that you personally are witnessing the beginnings of something revolutionary that's starting to wake up, that is bringing what is subconscious and saying it's not inferior, it's not a, it's not an inferior system to system 2 or to the consciousness. Rather, it's the most important bit. And do you need a guide to help you through it? Here I am. This is what Pisces is seeing, and this is what Pisces is getting ready for. Knight of Cups. To guide people through this process, because we've got the Six of Swords here, February. We've got a moving away from things. Now, had I not seen the boat or been aware that I was in the boat and I was watching the water and I said there's a giant moon, I would suggest that the Six of Swords wasn't really anything to do with you. But I did see that. It was shown to me before I started the reading, and so you are in the boat. Now, swords for you, less of a problem than they are for other people, but you seem to be carrying them. They're in the boat, they're here. Where are we taking them? I mean, Pisces, are we starting to see this month you beginning to kind of step into this role of spiritual teacher, spiritual leader, spiritual guide? Possibly. And if we are, it's happening holistically. So there are people who are seeking you out to talk to you about the things that they're starting to notice about themselves, or maybe it's even, kind of spiritual information that's coming through them that's making them freak out and go, oh, what the fuck is going on here? I don't really understand. And you can be like, oh no, it's fine. That's just normal. It's perfectly okay. And maybe you are the person who is helping them dump out the swords into the water. They don't need to be in the boat with you anymore. But it feels more like it's a gentle coming together of you with other people, with the universe kind of pushing them your way. Where little by little, as you are observing, witnessing, and gently guiding them through whatever it is that they're experiencing, you're kind of guiding them through to the end of the suit, to the Ten of Swords, by way of these individual one-on-one relationships that you're building. I mean, I hope you understand how important you are, Pisces. I mean, like, every sign has its job to do, but we are moving into very, very turbulent times, very much seeing the breakdown of things. Numerologically, we're in a 9-year, which does, deal with endings of things. It's the end of a cycle. We're also in a square year, which I think is quite interesting, giving us this sense that things are gonna be very, very hard, and there's got to be that higher level of faith. There's got to be that higher level of acceptance that is going to allow us to more fluidly transition from where we have been into where we're going. And it seems to start on the one-on-one level with you, Pisces. Tell me about this Six of Swords. Right, we've got the Star. We've got the Hanged Man. Oh, we've got, yeah, like... Pisces, there's no other way of cutting it. Like, you're here to do this, right? You're here to lead. You're here to guide. Now, we've got the High Priestess showing up, although it's not yet fully activated, but we do have the Hierophant here. Now, that is very much, it's earthy, right? So, because it's the sign of Taurus. It's about you being able to decode the secrets of the universe, right? We've got the Star card here, and I do think that part of what you're doing is allowing people to heal, right? Creating a space around people to heal in your presence. And then, when they are stripped down, show them how to reframe their experiences to something that's much higher, much more spiritual. And you, whether you like it or not, kind of stepping into the role of the person who is going to guide that through, because you can decode what the universe is about. And it's not woo to you. It's not there's no difficulty for you in believing that there is so much more going on than what we can perceive with our eyes, right? I think Pisces is just built that way. And all of this seems to be predicated on, at least initially, improving the basis upon which we all interact with each other by knowing oneself, right? Going into the cave, going into this state of exploration. And then moving beyond that, I mean, if we're going to cooperate on any kind of level over the next couple of years, which is going to be really, really testing, right? Really, really testing. We can't do it alone. We can't. We have to do it together. And if things are, I've used this word hypernormalization. It was, I think it was Adam Curtis who coined it back in the 20-teens of something. This increasingly entropic state where things are getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And everybody just goes, okay, whatever, And then it comes to this critical point where things start to break down and everybody's like, shit. I don't even know why I'm talking to you about this, but the point is, we have to go together. And I think Pisces knows that better than most. We all go, or none of us go. The route to the universe, the route to God, the route to everything, Pisces understands innately is through self. But it's through self, healing yourself, fixing yourself, doing whatever you need to do so that you can come back out again and be of service. I think Pisces' time of service is coming to a point where it's going to receive attention, because you are being positioned as a point of authority. And I know that a lot of Pisces will find that quite uncomfortable, to be some sort of spiritual authority. But this state of hypernormalization, which is kind of destroying people, is something that you get, something that you can navigate, something that you can work through. You understand not to resist anything. Well, I think people are going to start resisting, and it's going to happen at some point this month. There's going to be more and more unrest. There's more and more resistance, and it isn't just people resisting the government or stuff like that. It's people resisting their own shit that's coming up to the surface. I think this whole month for you, Pisces, is peppered with people coming to you for help. People being like, I fucking can't cope. Whether they're having spiritual, information land in their head, or whether they are in this, willing to kind of go within and look to see what's happening with them. It feels like these towers are kind of hitting for people everywhere. Your job is one-on-one to go, it's okay. It's all right. Now, the thing is, and like I said, this is going to take you to a position of authority that you didn't exactly ask for, but is being given to you anyway, because it is yours. It is yours to wield, specifically in this situation, at least anyway. But all month, people showing up, people starting to perceive the lack of resistance in you versus the resistance in them, and they're like, Pisces, can you help me? How can I work this out? This is going to start slow, but this is the beginning of the snowball, Pisces, and over the next couple of months, this is going to pick up speed. It's going to be very, very fast. It's going to have a lot of momentum, and there's this huge amount of Piscean energy behind it, and you're to hold this, right? You're to balance this within yourself. The only risk that I feel for you, Pisces, is if you try not to step up to the role that the universe is giving you here. If you try and literally resist this, the universe is going to be like, Pisces, you know better than this. It's not an ego position. You are needed, and you need to proceed as if you are needed. There's nothing egoic about that. There's not like a hungry pursuit of power. It's like, no, you're going to be in demand, and recognize it when it starts to happen. People are going to come to you. They're going to want a bit of advice. They want a shoulder to cry on. But everything's slightly different, because people do come to Pisces to let shit out, right? That non-judgmental receipt that they know that they're going to get from Pisces. But there's something different about the way that people are coming to you now. And I would witness, I would observe, I would pay attention. Because from here on out, things get very, very uncomfortable for a lot of people. And without the skill set that you have, that you are here to share, this is the way that you are to be of service, to guide people through that. I think things are going to get very, very difficult. I said a lot of this is just kind of watching what's coming up this month. Because I think from May into April, from March into April into May, then June, this is going to take on a life of its own. It may not take you necessarily in the direction that you thought you were going, but you know well enough to flow with things. Interesting. Right, I'm going to go over to the extended now. You're very welcome to join me if you would like to do so. The link is in the description box below. If not, no shade, not a problem. It's almost like it ceases to be about you. And I don't think it was ever really about you anyway, right? Because you're Pisces. I think you're naturally attuned to want to be of service. But in the way that spiritual work and spiritual lessons often do, there is something personally kind of uncomfortable about what the universe is asking you to step up and do. And for you, I do feel it's like stepping up and accepting that position of authority. It's not a hierarchical structure, but it is allowing yourself to be an authority. I think that's possibly the thing that Pisces will struggle with, but you've got like maybe 1 month, that if that, to start to accustom yourself to this, because it's coming in big. It's coming in really hot after this, you know. I know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.